Here's the harsh truth. 99% of people will never escape wage slavery. Not because they don't want to, and not because they can't, but because they're trapped by a single invisible mindset. And if you don't break free from it, you'll be stuck in the 9-to-5 prison for life. This year, I started my own business with the goal of escaping wage slavery, to not have to work for someone else, but to live life on my own terms. And so far, my business has been doing great. And in this video, I'm going to reveal how much it's made already and what I've learned from this experience. So in short, if you're dedicated to escaping the 9-to-5 rat race, I think that starting a business to escape the 9-to-5 is actually very doable, but only if you have the right mindset. And sadly, I think that like 99% of people don't have what it takes because they're stuck in a wage slave mindset. But I also think that for some of you, it's possible to change that mindset. So if you're watching this, then like me, you despise your work and you want to escape wage slavery. So let's find out if you have what it takes to escape the wage slavery trap. Now, I do want to warn my subscribers that this video will sort of take you backstage and it might ruin some of the magic of the show, so to speak. But I really think that you should watch anyway because it's important that you see what I see. Now, I know that some of you, a lot of you, are probably asking, why am I making so many videos about wage slavery? Why can't I just be more like, other influencers? Why can't I make a video called, "It's so easy to get rich fast"? Like, wouldn't that be a dream? We all want to get rich and we want it to be fast and easy. Influencers know this. That's the bait they use to lure us in. But in defense of other influencers, if I made a video called, "Here is the hard and long way to get rich," nobody would click on it. So I get it. The problem is, it's just not possible to do it quick and easy. The way the wage slavery mindset works is that we only respond to quick, easy solutions. And the moment someone tells you it's going to take hard work and a long time, people just don't want to hear that, because we have no patience, because that's how society has programmed us to be. But think about it. The urgency at work, the deadlines, the quick solution products that companies try to sell to us, it's no wonder that we're wired for the quick and easy and avoid the long and hard. So today, I'm going to give it to you straight based on my experience starting a business to escape wage slavery. Now, I'm not gonna lie, some of it is hard and there's no way of getting around that. But some of it is actually a lot easier than you think. So this video will be both realistic and hopefully inspiring. But first, let's get some things out of the way. When I started to make these videos about wage slavery, I was sick and tired of grinding every day, doing pointless things. It was like, for what? To pay my bills so I can live to keep working. I was upset with this cycle, but honestly, I was mostly upset that nobody seemed to care or notice that we're all living in a wage slave society. So I started to make these videos about 2 years ago, and some of you connected instantly. You knew exactly what I was talking about. But I was surprised that most people commented that my work opened up their mind. They never thought about it that way. And this drove me on a course, and not just to educate, but to hack the programming that society put on most of us. Yes, you and me, we're all tricked since birth to follow the protocol without questioning. And I've taken you through the history of work, starting with the Enclosure Acts of England and how they spread worldwide, then Henry Ford, the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Forum, WikiLeaks, and the Snowden revelations about how the world economy actually works and how we're just essentially wage slaves. I've shared only a fraction of what I found in my research. I haven't even gotten into things like BlackRock or George Soros or the scary threat of hyperinflation, nightmare stuff. But we're not gonna get into that today. I've mentioned this a dozen times. I can't change the system on my own, and I can't wait around for the system to change. I can do my part, which is to spread the word, awaken people to the wage slave prison they live in. But honestly, I noticed that there seems to be a darker truth about humans that makes it almost impossible for us to escape. And it's been on my mind for a long time. It's made me question reality because sometimes it really feels like we live in a simulation where we're programmed to do as we're told and ignore common sense. And understanding that we live in a wage slave system isn't a hard concept to grasp, and yet we keep showing up for work every day. And one thing reminds me of this strange mystery, and that is the pyramids. Yes, I constantly talk about those damn pyramids. But seriously, like, how the hell did the pharaohs convince people to spend so many years doing that hard labor? Slaves or not, somehow they were tricked into it. Now today, it's really no different. Something keeps tricking us into this. And I found some very interesting theories, but we're not going to get into that today. My point is, I've written a lot about wage slavery because in order to escape it, you have to understand why it's so urgent. But instead, let's focus on practical things about escaping wage slavery by starting a business to make money. Just like with wage slavery, we have to understand it fully before we can use it. Look, the truth is, if you want to escape wage slavery, you're going to have to find a way to sell a product or a service in some capacity. But it's because you're a wage slave, you've been programmed to think that business is bad, that making money is bad. It's only okay to work for a paycheck. That is somehow noble. Well, let me tell you something about that. That is just wage slave propaganda. There's nothing wrong with selling and buying products or services. That's capitalism, and there's nothing wrong with it. But Tom used that word, capitalism. It gets a lot of you trembling, like capitalism is the root of all evil. Now, if you truly believe that, this video is not for you. And good luck living in society without purchasing things. That's all I'm saying. Most of us live in this capitalistic reality, so it's pretty much impossible to break out of it. Now, I don't want to hear any nonsense from the hypocrites who, instead of living in the forest, are actually watching this video on a device that they bought on Walmart. I'm not trying to be rude or condescending. The point is, I urge you to keep an open mind and understand that your belief is programmed, like everything else. Society has programmed you to believe that capitalism is bad, that only faceless companies should sell. And the truth is, that brands and companies, they're just fronts for real people selling things. Take a company like Apple. It's not Apple that's selling you iPhones and MacBooks. It's real people who hide behind the logo. We keep forgetting that fact. Now, it's not even Tim Cook. He's just a front for the real company owners. Most people don't even know the people behind Apple. I don't even know who those people are. We can only argue back and forth about Apple and their ways of marketing. But the thing is, apart from their massive profits, they're a business just like a bakery. And it's up to you if you want billions or if you just want to earn enough to make a living. Now, we're going to dive more into this a little later in the video, but as some of you already know, I started a business built around my passion, which is making YouTube videos, being a part of the creator economy. I share what I've learned in a YouTuber course that I designed from scratch, and you can find it in the video description. And I know I'm going to get comments about this. Ooh, I see what you did there. You pitched your own product. You're no better than the companies you despise. So let's get a couple of things straight. First of all, there is absolutely nothing wrong with creating and selling something that offers value to people. We buy stuff all the time. Some would argue that it's wrong that I'm exploiting people's desire to escape wage slavery by offering a product. That's wrong. I'm offering a solution. When you buy bread, you don't accuse the baker of exploiting hungry people. When you pay for Netflix, you don't say, wow, you're profiting off of my boredom. You know, people get uncomfortable when a person like me, and not a faceless company sells something because it's more transparent and more direct. There is no exploitation going on here. This is honesty. This is me selling stuff to you. Things get complicated when money is involved, but we spend money all the time. Money is just how we store value. If I spend 10 years figuring out YouTube and I package that knowledge and sell it for $49, that's not evil capitalism. It's time arbitrage. I am selling you time you don't have to spend figuring it out yourself. And then there is the hypocrisy argument, which is just lazy in my opinion. You use money, so you can't criticize capitalism. That's like saying you live on Earth, so you can't talk about how to fix climate change. Like, I just want to give you the exact tools I wish that I had when I sat in a cubicle dreaming about escape. If that is exploitation, then every teacher, author, and coach in history is evil too. Now, I come down hard on this because every time I pitch a product of mine or Patreon, people get opinionated in their criticism without any real logic. As long as you're not tricking people, there's nothing wrong with offering a solution to a problem for money. This is how our society works. And I mention this because I know that most of you struggle with this idea of selling. And I know this because I struggled with it too. But ever since I launched my products, I've been getting comments on them. People like my YouTuber course. And I also created this PDF file called the Wage Slavery Survival Guide. And I got some criticism for it. So I changed it to make it better. Now, I am not perfect. You know, even the first iPhone was super flawed. No product or service is perfect for everyone. That's my point. Okay, let's start with some tough love. If you're considering starting an online store, you're not going to be as successful as Jeff Bezos. Like, you're not even going to get close. Now, if you're considering starting a YouTube channel, you're not going to be the next Mr. Beast. Not even close. Now, the reason I want to crush those expectations is because when we think about starting a business, we instantly compare ourselves to the most incredible people on the top. And it's just crazy to compare yourself with the ultra-rich of the world. The second thing to remember about Mr. Beast and Jeff Bezos is that they spent more than 10,000 hours perfecting their craft, and you're just not there yet. So it's crazy to even think about people like that. The thing to understand here also is that you don't have to make billions to escape wage slavery. You need a lot less. And I understand that a lot of people set up these limitations before they even consider starting up a business. Like, what can I do? What can I sell? Who would listen to me? And, you know, I get it. You might think that you don't have the looks, the experience, or anything interesting to say. But the truth is, 99% of everyone here on YouTube, we're not original in any way. Like, we haven't invented anything like the wheel. Everything guys like me talk about is just stuff that we've learned. The trick is to package it with our own experience. So, take that YouTuber course I made. Why would anyone want to buy it? I don't have millions of subscribers. I'm no Mr. Beast. It's because I'm not Mr. Beast that people buy the course. People have seen my videos and they connect with me. They know that I don't hold some ancient secret recipe for success on YouTube. They know that I don't have any special knowledge, but they like the way I talk and they trust me. And this is the idea, right? Everyone is original and unique because we have our life experiences, we have our opinions, and we have our thoughts, and we can sell that. It is scary to start a business if you've never done it before, and trust me, I totally know. For years, I didn't want to do it. The idea of stepping into the unknown with no safety net, it just felt overwhelming. I'd lie awake wondering if I had what it took. Would I fail? Would I look foolish? Would I lose everything? These fears kept me stuck for so many years, and I bet that they are holding you back too. But here is the truth. Starting a business, while it is scary, it is not as complicated or risky as society makes it out to be. So I started my business not exactly a year ago, it's less than that, and I've experienced certain ups and downs. I faced a lot of obstacles already, and you do that when you start a business. That's the nature of it. A business is not like a job where you're handed a key, a computer, and an orientation week. You have to figure things out for yourself along the way. There is no manual, there is no HR department, no boss to tell you what to do. It's just you and your ideas and a whole lot of trial and error. So for example, I've been using ChatGPT for a lot of things, but even ChatGPT gets things wrong. So a few months ago, I actually ran into trouble with the Swedish IRS because of something ChatGPT told me. And it was whether or not I should submit a certain tax return form. And I remember at the time I was actually debating with ChatGPT because my gut feeling was that I was supposed to submit it. But because I didn't know much about it, I trusted ChatGPT. Because of that, the IRS actually fined me for late submissions. And that stung. and not just the find, but the realization that I lean too heavily on a tool instead of my own judgment. I've had a bunch of these sorts of problems. For the first couple of months, my bookkeeping was completely wrong. I blame ChatGPT again, but the point is, I still run into these types of problems, and you just have to deal with it. So let's unpack this, because there is a deeper lesson here from the myths that keeps us from starting a business. The first myth is that you need to know everything before you begin. I thought I had to know all the answers, how to do taxes, how to market, how to build the perfect product. But the reality is, no one starts out knowing all of this. You learn by doing. That IRS mistake, it taught me to double-check advice, even from seemingly reliable sources like AI. And my bookkeeping mess, it forced me to learn basic accounting principles and find simple tools to stay organized. Now, these mistakes weren't failures, they were my education. Wisdom here is that you don't need to be an expert to start, but you need to be willing to learn as you go. And another myth is that starting a business is a one-way ticket to financial ruin. People hear stories about entrepreneurs going bankrupt and think that's the norm, but it doesn't have to be that way. So personally, I structured my business to minimize risk. No big loans, no fancy office, no reckless spending. I started small, using my evenings, my weekends, keeping my day job to cover my bills. That way, every dollar I earned from my business was a bonus, not a lifeline. So the lesson is, you can start lean and safe. You don't need to bet the farm to build something meaningful. So for example, instead of hiring a pricey web developer, you can just use a simple platform to sell courses and PDF guides. There is this myth that you need to be fearless, and I wasn't fearless when I started. Far from it, actually. Even now, I second-guess myself all the time. Did I price the course right? Is my content good enough? Those doubts don't go away, but they don't have to stop you. Courage isn't about being fearless, it's about acting despite the fear. Every time I hit a roadblock, like that IRS fine, I have a choice. Quit or keep going. Choosing to keep going, even when it's messy, is what builds your resilience and your business. And here's another piece of wisdom. Obstacles are inevitable. They're also opportunities. Every problem that I faced have taught me something extremely valuable. The bookkeeping errors show me the importance of systems. That IRS fine just reminded me to trust my instincts and seek human advice when needed. And, even the small stuff, like struggling to balance my time, taught me to prioritize ruthlessly. If you're thinking about starting a business or becoming a YouTuber, don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. You just figure it out as you go, just like I did. Now, the key is to start small, stay curious, and treat every mistake as a stepping stone. Oh, and as a final thought, society wants you to believe that starting a business is for special people, geniuses, risk takers, or those with endless resources. That's just nonsense. I'm a regular person with a full-time job and a house loan, figuring out one step at a time. If I can do it, so can you. The real barrier, it isn't money or expertise. It's the belief that you're not ready. You are. You just have to take the first step, embrace the mess, and trust that you'll learn what you need along the way. That's how you debunk the myths and build something real. So, how much money have I made so far? Well, like I said, I started this business in January this year, and so far it's generated a 5-figure income. And that's not bad, but it's not enough to, for me to leave my day job just yet. I still have a house loan, so I'm not leaving work until I have that taken care of. But the potential is there. The reason I wanted to share this, it isn't to brag. I honestly don't even think that the number is that impressive just yet. But it's more to show you the potential. Consider this. My business is run 100% by me, and I have a full-time job. That means I only have time to work on my business on weekends and evenings. And I actually have a home life too, and I have a wife and a dog. So, you squeeze in every hour you can, and you have to have a system, basically. But let's unpack that for a moment, because I think that there is a deeper lesson here. When I say 5-figure income, I'm not throwing out a number to dazzle you. It's not millions, and it's not life-changing money yet. But what excites me is that it represents a seed, and a seed is just that. With time, with focus and persistence, it can grow into something that can give me the freedom to walk away from my 9-to-5 grind. That's the real goal. It's actually not the money at all. I don't care about the money. I care about escaping wage slavery. That's it. I want to have control over my time, my choices, and my life. And I want you to see that this is possible, even if you're starting out small. Even if you're juggling a job, bills, or you have kids, or other responsibilities. I get it. When I started, I had no idea if this would work. I was terrified, honestly. I would lie awake sometimes just wondering if I'm just wasting my time. And maybe I was crazy to think that I could build something on my own while working 40 hours a week. But what I've learned is that the constraints, those evenings and weekends, are actually a gift. They force you to prioritize, to be ruthless about what actually matters, which we're going to go into more later in the video. Because if I only have a few hours a day, I had to focus on what would make the most action, what would move the needle, so to speak. Creating valuable content, connecting with my audience, and building trust. That's what generated this 5-figure income, not some overnight hack or secret formula. And here's a piece of advice that I wish someone had told me. You don't need to replace your entire salary to start feeling free. Too many people think that escaping wage slavery means you need to match your day job's income for dollar before you can quit. That's a trap. Freedom isn't just about money, it's about options. Now, my business income, while it's not enough to quit just yet, it's given me breathing room. It's paid off some debt. It's covered unexpected expenses, and it lets me invest in tools like better software that makes my work stronger. And it also gives me confidence that I'm not stuck, that I'm building something real, something that is mine. And also another thing is, don't underestimate the power of starting small. Society tells us that success looks like going viral or hitting it big overnight, but that's not how it works for most of us. My 5-figure income, it came from consistent, imperfect action, posting videos when I was tired, tweaking my course based on feedback, learning how to market myself even when it felt awkward. Each new subscriber, each comment saying this helped me, it all added up. It's like compound interest for your soul. Now, these little wins, they build momentum, and momentum builds belief. Belief keeps you going when the doubts creep in, and they will. The doubts definitely will creep in. And I also want to be real about that house loan. It's a big reason why I'm still at my job. And I know many of you have similar anchors, mortgages, student loans, car payments, and that's okay. You don't have to burn your life down to escape wage slavery. You can build your business alongside your responsibilities. Now, for me, it's knowing that every dollar from my business is chipping away at that loan. It feels very empowering. It's not just paying it off, it's about proving to myself that I can create something sustainable without risking everything. And the wisdom here is protect your downside. Don't go all in recklessly. Structure your business so it's low risk, like I did, by keeping my job and by budgeting carefully. That way, you're free to experiment without the fear of losing it all. And also, consider this. I'm doing this on weekends and evenings, maybe 10-15 hours a week at most. Imagine what's possible when I can dedicate more time. If I can generate a 5-figure income in my spare hours, what could you do with your skills, your passion, your unique perspective? You don't need to be a genius or have 1 million followers. You just need to start, to show up consistently, to learn as you go. The potential isn't some distant future. It's in the hours that you carve out today, the small steps that you take to build something that's yours. So no, I'm definitely not bragging about the money. It's not about the number. It's about what it means. It's proof that you can start where you are with what you have and create something meaningful. It's like a reminder that escaping wage slavery, it doesn't require a miracle. It requires a mindset shift, a willingness to act, and the patience to let your efforts grow. If I can do this while juggling a full-time job and a house loan, you can take your first step too, whatever that looks like for you. So I've made a lot of mistakes this year. My biggest mistake has been that I was basically all over the place, like creating many products and being on every social media platform. It's been a chaotic experience with very little systematic approach to things. And the problem with doing too many things at once is that your end result is poor. And that's just one of the mistakes that I made. But the thing that I'm great at is to continue to make mistakes and not giving up. Although, to be honest with you, 1 or 2 times a week, I do consider throwing in the towel on this business thing. It's absolutely true. It can feel kind of overwhelming when I'm staring at a spreadsheet that doesn't add up, when I'm reading a comment that stings more than it should. But like a true champion, I've been getting up after getting knocked down every time. I love comparing starting a business with playing a video game. You don't realize it when you play for hours, but you actually fail most of the time. You get killed, you figure out what went wrong, and you try again to avoid getting killed. And that's what it's like with a business. Because I've been enjoying the business like a video game. I've been succeeding at it. It's not about winning every round. It's about learning from each loss and coming back stronger. And this mindset, it's been a game changer for me. And I want to unpack why this is so powerful. So I got this advice from a bigger YouTuber that I've sort of befriended over the years, who told me when starting a business, and I'm just quoting him here, just have fun with it. That's what he said. And that stuck with me. Ever since I started the business, I don't see it as a super serious project. I'm having fun with it. And here's the wisdom in that. When you approach your business with a sense of play, it takes the pressure off. You're not paralyzed by the fear of getting it wrong. Instead, you're curious, you're willing to experiment, you're more open to learning, and that's what keeps you moving forward, even when things don't go as planned. So let me share a bit more about my chaotic start. When I launched my business, I thought that I had to do everything. Create a course, write a PDF guide, post on TikTok, Instagram, X, you name it. I was like a kid in a candy store, grabbing every opportunity without a clear plan. And the results? Mediocre output across the board. My videos weren't as polished as they could have been. My social media posts felt forced and I was burning out. And the lesson here is that spreading yourself thin just dilutes your impact. Success comes from doing a few things well, not everything poorly. If I could go back, I would tell myself to pick 1 or 2 priorities, like making better videos, and pour my energy into those. And here's another piece of advice. Failure, it's actually not the enemy. And I think the fear of failure is. So you see, society has programmed us to be afraid of making mistakes, to fear failure, just like in school. Remember how we were terrified of getting Fs, of not passing classes? That fear follows us into adulthood, whispering that one wrong move will ruin everything. And this is why most people fear starting a business. Even the myth that most businesses fail after 6 months can scare you away from starting a business. But it's not the entire truth. Yes, most businesses fail after 6 months, but that doesn't tell you that many entrepreneurs start again after failing, launching better companies. Most successful entrepreneurs start several companies before figuring out what the right business is. Failure isn't a verdict, it's feedback. And I want to say that I don't think that you have to go bankrupt on your first attempt. I'm saying that it's normal if you do. And if you do, it doesn't mean game over. You can try again. You can learn from your mistakes. The key is to sort of treat each mistake as a lesson, not a life sentence. So, for example, when I botched my bookkeeping in the first few months, it cost me time and stress, but it taught me to double check my systems and to seek advice from others who'd been there. Now I'm better at it. I'm not perfect, but I'm better. The way I've structured my business, it will never go bankrupt unless something insanely unexpected happens, like someone suing me and my company for stealing their book or something. And I'm just saying that because of my financial education, I do have the financial skills to budget my spending in the company in a way that it never risks going bankrupt. Now, if that's too confusing, let me illustrate it by an example. I'm not going to buy a Cybertruck as a company car for the first year. So it's not about just being frugal. It's about being strategic. Every dollar I spend needs to serve the business, not my ego. And this is the mindset shift. Think like a business owner, not like a consumer. And here's one more piece of advice that I've sort of picked up. Resilience is built in the moments you want to quit. And what I mean by that is those 1 or 2 times a week when I think about giving up, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that I'm human. What matters is what you do next. If you let the doubt win, or do you just take a deep breath and keep going? So for me, it's all about remembering why I started, to escape the soul-crushing cycle of wage slavery, to build a life where I'm in control. That why pulls me back every time. So if you're starting your own business or dreaming of becoming a YouTuber, embrace the mess. Make mistakes, learn from them, and keep moving forward. Treat it like a game. Have fun, experiment, and don't take it so seriously when you freeze. Most importantly, don't let that fear of failure stop you. The only real failure is not trying at all. Every stumble is a step forward. It's something, it's better. And every lesson you learn, it brings you closer to the life that you want. Here's the thing, making profit in your business, it is actually really easy to see where your work is most effective, what actually drives in profit. The problem is that most of us, we have a worker mindset. You don't see the big picture. You think that by working harder, you'll get better results because this is how society has programmed us. But when you have your own business, you sort of have to change your way of thinking. You can't think like a worker. You have to think like a business owner. You have to use strategy above everything else. And when you take a big step back to look at, the whole picture of your business, you realize a number of things. And one of the most important things is that 10% of what you do brings in 90% of the profits. So the key ingredient of a successful business, in my experience, has been to identifying what the right moves are. And like I said, I've been doing a lot with my products and being very active on social media, on all the social media platforms. But it turns out that 90% of it has just been a waste of leverage potential. Every entrepreneur has to focus on what they do best. Now, my best skill is making good videos. That's what I need to focus on to keep improving. That's what brings in the most money. And I'm not referring to YouTube ad revenue, by the way. I'm just saying that my focus on YouTube is what connects me to most people for potential customers. So for example, I don't have the skills when it comes to building an online web store. And more importantly, it's not where I want to put my focus. So I tested out some different services and I found that the one that was the simplest and most intuitive for someone like me, it was Stan Store. And I've written and talked about Stan before. It's just such a simple way to create a web store that it's just perfect for anyone who just wants to start their online store and not worry about the details. I would say it's like the equivalent of posting a reel on Instagram. It's that simple. I think that basically anyone can launch their own store today. Now, this video is not sponsored by Stan. I just really like their service. But if you're interested to testing it out, there is a 14-day trial. My affiliate link is in the video description. But I want to sort of dive deeper into this because I think that there is a very profound lesson here that can change how you approach your own business or creative journey. So the worker mindset that I mentioned, it's insidious. It's the voice that tells you to keep grinding, to do more, to hustle until you're exhausted. And I fell into this trap very early on. I was posting on every platform, tweaking product descriptions, trying to optimize every little thing. And I thought that that's what it meant to be productive. But productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. That 10-90 rule that I mentioned, where 10% of your efforts drive 90% of your results, it isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a principle rooted in reality, often called the Pareto principle or Pareto principle. I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's been a wake-up call for me. When I started my business, I was scatterbrained, trying to be everywhere at once. and I would spend hours crafting these Instagram posts only to see very minimal engagement. I would tinker with my website design, even though I'm not a tech wizard per se. And meanwhile, my YouTube videos, the thing that I'm actually good at, or I think I'm pretty good, I'll just say it, were getting neglected. And the moment I realized this, it was like a light bulb that went off. I asked myself, what's the one thing that's actually moving the needle? And for me, it's creating videos that resonate with people. That's what builds trust, attracts an audience, and ultimately leads to sales of my course or PDF guide. And the wisdom here is simple but powerful. Double down on your strengths and let go of the rest. Now, this doesn't mean that you should ignore everything else. You still need systems like a simple web store or basic bookkeeping to keep things running, but you don't need to be an expert in everything. And that's why tools like Stan Store, for example, has been a bit of a lifesaver for me. I'm not a coder, and I don't want to spend weeks learning how to build a fancy website. And Stan just lets me set up a store in minutes, and I can focus on what I do best, making videos. So the lesson is, find tools that simplify the stuff you're not great at so you can pour your energy into what sets you apart. Now, this is what thinking like a business owner looks like. Strategic delegation, even if it's just to software. And another piece of advice that I've learned, it's that strategy isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Early on, I wasted time chasing trends on social media because I thought that's what I had to do. But the thing is that trends come and go, and if you're not careful, you just burn out trying to keep up. Instead, focus on what's timeless, creating value. For me, it's making videos that speak to people's desire to escape wage slavery. For you, it might be about teaching a skill or sharing your story about solving a specific problem. Whatever it is, ask yourself, what is the one thing I can help do better than most people? And how can I make that the core of my business? That's the question that will guide you more than any viral hack. And here's a final thought. The shift from worker mindset to business owner mindset, it's a journey. It's not like a switch that you can flip. I still catch myself slipping into old habits, thinking I need to work harder instead of smarter. But every time I step back and sort of assess what's working and focus on the 10%, I see progress. And it's not always glamorous. And some days it's just me sitting at my desk, refining a video script or responding, to a customer email. But those small strategic actions add up. And that's what turned my evenings and weekends into a 5-figure income. And that's what will take me and you closer to freedom. So if you're starting out, don't get lost in the noise. Just identify your 10%, the thing that you're great at, that drives results, and make it your North Star. Use tools to handle the rest. Be intentional, not frantic. That's honestly like the biggest lesson that I've learned, and it's one that I'm still learning every day. Finally, I just want to say that because I'm alone, it's very difficult to focus on the bigger picture. I'm doing everything in the business, the product development, the marketing, the accounting, and basically a workhorse. But the most important part of the business is, of course, the strategy. Otherwise, you're just a workhorse without a head. You have to understand that having the right strategy, understanding which levers to pull is everything. Some levers do absolutely nothing, others do very little, but the right levers, they do 10 to 100 times the profit. So if you don't focus on finding the right leverage, you'll simply go nowhere. And to make things a bit more complicated, it's actually kind of funny, these things are usually super clear from start, but you just fail to act on them. Just to be authentically stupid here, I'm going to reveal my biggest mistake that I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm posting 3 to 4 posts on TikTok, Instagram, and X. It's completely pointless. It does absolutely nothing for my business. Sure, maybe in time it will, but that maybe is the reason. And also, there is a lot of FOMO that's involved. I look at people who do what I do and they're on every platform. But the truth is, the thing that brings in 90% of the profits, whether it's book sales or ad revenue or my course revenue or my Patreon, It's making good videos. And I know this, and yet if you go to my profiles on X, TikTok, and Instagram, you'll see that I post at least 3 pieces of content every single day. My focus should be to make better videos. And I talk about this a lot in my YouTuber Success Blueprint course, but it's where your focus should be as a creator. So for example, a lot of people think that it's about making the right thumbnail or the right title. But the truth is, the thing that will bring in the most views on YouTube is simply making better videos. Sometimes when I pitch something in my videos, like my book, I'll analyze and I try to figure out how, what should I say about my book to make more people buy it? What kind of emotional hook should I use? But the simple truth is that making better videos makes the YouTube algorithm show the video to more people. And the more people watch my videos, the more books I sell. Okay? And I know this, but to act on it, again, you have to be a business owner. You have to have the mentality of a business owner to make that call, to tell yourself that this is what you should focus on. And this is by far the most difficult part of my journey as a solo entrepreneur, not recognizing where I should focus to make more profit, but having the strategic discipline to follow that recognition. But it's a journey, and you get better at it every day. As always, thank you for listening. Do me a favor and tap that like button to show your support. Subscribe if you're interested in more content like this. Until next time, stay hungry, relentless, and strong in your journey of escaping wage slavery. Bye.